Hello and welcome to the channel, and in today's video I will be showing you how to write a very short fiction book. So without further ado, let's dive into the video. Firstly, this is our prompts, and we want to select our target age audience. Then we go to ChatGPT. So for me, I want adults. And the next thing I want to do, when you click on adults, they will bring you a bunch of options for you to select from. So I want to pick survivor horror, and then come into the prompt and then change to romance to survivor horror. Then select it and press enter. So the next thing I want to do is that I want to select. So select the area in which I want the AI to write for. Now we have a option where post apocalypse stick survivor horror. We have isolated location survivor horror and creature feature survivor horror. So I'll pick the first one because it is a very short video. And I pressed it. Now, as you can see, the Quiet After Surrender is the title of the book. We could turn this into a series, but I don't want to make the video very long, so I will just leave it as it is and move on to the next, which is to create the writings that go at the back of the book, which is the book blurb. Then I'll press enter. Okay, I think I made a mistake and I paused it, so I re-enter. So that is the writing that goes at the back of the book. Now the next thing is that I want to create chapters. The chapters, which is the table of content and the pages, and then total word counts. Because I said this is a short story book, I will do 8 pages and 4,000 words, and I press enter. Okay, so I'll reprompt it to say I just need 2 chapters. The reason being is that I don't want the video to be very, very long, so I just need only 2 chapters. So now that I have my 2 chapters, what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to create a description of the character. The reason why I have to do it is because it will help me to design the book cover, to design the very beautiful book cover for this book. Good. So now the next thing I want to do is to break the 2 chapters into scenes. This is where most of you guys don't get it. You get confused. So I just want to rectify that part by breaking the chapters into scenes. Now that is for chapter one. We are breaking chapter one into scenes. So I told you initially I don't want the book to be very, very long. So I'm just re-prompting it to give me only 2 scenes for chapter one. So now we've broken chapter one into scenes. The next thing is that we want to start generating the content for chapter one scenes. And it's very important you take note of this part. So overall, chapter one has 3 scenes. So this is where we make the edit. This is the chapter. The chapter you're working in, you put the chapter there, which is chapter one, and then the total number of scenes chapter one has, you put that number there. So watch where I'm making all the edits and make yours accordingly. So now what we do next is that we first have to understand if we're looking for 4,000 words and each chapter out of the two chapters will only take 2,000 words. Now, the next thing for us to do is to divide the 2,000 words by the three scenes. Yours will be more. Mine, I'm just reducing it for the sake of this tutorial. So that will be 600 words per each scene. 667, 667 words per scene. So now we are writing scene 1 of part 1, chapter 1. Now we'll copy the same prompt again. And then we'll paste it. Now we will still leave the chapter 1 to chapter 1. Now we are working on scene 2, which will ultimately lead to scene 3. So please watch all of the edits I'm doing to the prompt. So now that we're writing scene 2, now we are done writing scene 2. This is the part where we have to transition to scene. We have to write scene 3 that will ultimately lead us to chapter 2. This is where the whole trick comes in. This is the prompt. This is the last prompt. I want you to take notes. Now we're on. This is chapter 2, which will be the second chapter. Now we have to copy the main character's name, which is very, very important. The main character's name is very important. The main character name will help us to keep the story consistent as we write the book. Which is Mara Kisler. So we'll make the edits within the prompt. And then we change the name to replace it with our current character's name. And the scene here is 3. This is scene 3. Now, when you're done making the edit, remember, this is the prompt you use to transition to the next chapter. So, remember, please write the second scene. This will be the third. The third scene of chapter 1. This scene is 3 of 3. And of the 3 chapters and 3 and all 3, remember, need to be approximately 667 words. That will in this case, that will ultimately lead to chapter 2. Okay, so if this book had chapter 3, when you're done with chapter 2, you're transitioning, you change here to chapter 3, from chapter 2 to chapter 3. So now what we do next is that we copy the the scene 3. Now we copy this whole scene 3 because this is what we will use to ultimately transition to chapter 2. So we copy it, and then now we come here. So what this prompt does is that it writes scene 3, but then it ultimately transitions to chapter 2. So it writes scenes 3 that would lead to chapter 2. Now I'll paste the scene 3, which is the last scene of chapter 1, and then I'll press enter. As you can see, chapter 1 scene 3 has been written. Now it leads to chapter 2. So the edit we made was first person present, Imara Kessler, which is the main character. That is what we did. We edited the last prompt that will transition us to chapter 2. So now I press next. Now, this is just me being lazy. I could repeat the same process of the prompt over and over, but I just want it to write fast. The main point of this video was to explain to you how to transition from one chapter to the next, to write the last scene that will transitions to the next chapter. So that is it. So that is it. We are done. That is how we transition from one chapter to the next by copying the third chapter, the last scene of the chapter 1, and pasting it within the prompt. So that will ultimately lead to chapter 2 with this prompt. So that is how it's done in fiction. In the next video, I'll show you how to format your book using Google Docs.